Dude, American gun law is so fucking stupid. American gun law is so fucking stupid. And once again, like, legally, sure, okay, the judge made the right decision. This is so fucking dumb, though. But once again, this is what American law states. Like, this is the correct legal outcome. I'm not contesting that. If you don't like this outcome, you would want the law to change. You shouldn't look at this trial and be like, the trial of a result should have been different. You should look at your lawmakers and vote in different ones, or petition them to change things. Attention of the American conservatives. I think Rittenhouse has a huge choice to make in his life right now, and Rittenhouse's choice is Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager who killed 2 people and shot another during unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Blown away on the verdict, surprised justice was actually served. I'm not surprised at all. As far as my understanding of American law goes, yeah, Kyle, the Kyle verdict is the correct one under U.S. law. It is the correct one. Now, do I agree with the U.S. laws in question? I don't, actually. I don't think you should be allowed to open carry in general, and especially in the situation where you're walking into a volatile scenario. I consider, morally, ethically speaking, open carrying to be an escalation of violence. If you're the one escalating, then then that taints any concept of self-defense, morally speaking. Legally speaking, he was in a state where open carrying is legal, so that is not escalation, legally speaking. So obviously what he did was legally self-defense, but morally I'm not on his side. Legally, the verdict is the right one. Okay, anyways, was acquitted Friday of first-degree intentional homicide and 4 other felony charges. Rittenhouse, wearing a dark jacket with a burgundy tie and shirt, stood behind the defense table and as each not guilty verdict was read. He tried to hold back tears, then sobbed and appeared to collapse forward on the table, where one of his lawyers embraced him. Rittenhouse's mother gasped after the final verdict was read, her head falling into her hands. The panel of 5 men and 7 women deliberated more than 25 hours over the past 4 days in a closely watched case that polarized an already divided nation. The verdict cannot be appealed. Oh, interesting. Jurors had asked the court a handful of questions, including requests on Wednesday to rewatch much of the video evidence of the shootings. In the end, the panel agreed with the defendant's testimony that he feared for his life and acted in self-defense. Since the shootings on August 25, 2020, the case pitted Americans who saw Rittenhouse as an armed teen vigilante against those who viewed him as a citizen taking up arms to protect businesses from looters and rioters. The judge praised the jury, saying he couldn't have asked for a better jury. Some jurors appeared fatigued in the jury box as the verdicts were read, their hands on their chins or rubbing their eyes, according to a pool reporter. Others appeared ill at ease, their arms across their chests. After the verdict was announced, lead prosecutor Thomas Binger told the court, "The jury has represented our community in this trial and has spoken." Blah, 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 blah. They're like jerking each other off. What a good trial. It sends the... oh, someone's unhappy about it. Anthony Huber, the family of one of the victims, says there's no accountability for the person who murdered our son, sends an unacceptable message that armed civilians can show up in any town, incite violence. Well, see, this is the thing. Like, under American law, walking around open carrying is not inciting violence. Like, does this mean that the future of protests and riots is a bunch of people on both sides, like the counter protesters and the protesters and the rioters and counter rioters, all showing up with like open carrying guns or concealed carrying, whatever is legal in their state? I don't see that as an improvement of civil society. Avengers Civil War, yeah, literally. But it, once again, mon gars, wesh, Tazumbaji, comment ça va? But once again, this is what American law states. Like, this is the correct legal outcome. I'm not contesting that. If you don't like this outcome, like I do, you would want the law to change. You shouldn't look at this trial and be like, the trial of a result should have been different. You should look at your lawmakers and vote in different ones, or petition them to change things. If Rittenhouse followed the law, he would not have been on trial. That's not how justice works. The trial is not, trials aren't there because people break the law. Trials are there to verify if they have broken the law. So I'm sorry, but that is just patently wrong. I don't want the biased judge confine the trial on his terms, Yeah, I saw some articles. Alleging that the judge was biased and was confining the trial. My limited understanding of and it's limited, but my limited understanding of self-defense cases in the U.S. Like so some of the articles I read during the case concerning the decisions that the judge was making were that the judge was making decisions that were in line with how self-defense cases go and work in the U.S. Like the more neutral articles I've read were like the judge does this and this, and I was like, holy shit, that looks bad. And then that's actually normal to do in self-defense cases. Like judges do that all the time, and I was like, okay. Then like once again, what you have to change is the criminal justice system. You can't look at this. You can't look at the trial. Yeah, it's par for the course. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like. I disagree with I disagree with the result of the trial, but not in a legal sense. Under American law, my understanding of it is Kyle Rittenhouse under American law acted in self-defense, and the verdict is correct, like legally speaking. However, morally speaking, ethically speaking, I disagree with what he did. I think that what he did was wrong. I think showing up with open carrying a gun in a volatile situation, in fact showing up open carrying to any confrontation whatsoever, is provocation. And you cannot plead the self-defense plea after provocating with a lethal weapon is not the same story. It's just depressing because once again the flawed system that governs us is completely detached from the reality we live in. It's attached to the reality of a country that wants to open carry guns. That's what I see, what I perceive in this case. If you consider it legal and moral to walk around with an AR-15 on the street, then this verdict is perfectly normal, which is sad because I'm not for open carrying. He's innocent of self-defense, but should be punished for being illegally armed. Well, my understanding, that was my original understanding of the case, but stuff I read recently said the opposite, that he was actually legally armed. Was Kyle Rittenhouse legally carrying? Oh, this is a New York Post article, but so obviously it's going to be biased on the other hand. But hey, that's how you learn. You check out what are the opinions on every side. PolitiFact has been slammed for a fact check that claimed to readers that Kyle Rittenhouse's possession of a firearm was illegal. After the judge presiding over his murder trial threw out the weapons charge against him. I was initially charged with possession of a dangerous weapon as a minor, but the judge tossed it after the charge and the site's claim didn't hold up in court. The judge agreed with Rittenhouse's lawyers that the ban on minors with dangerous weapons only applies to those weapons that are short-barreled, unlike the one that the teen used. Dude, American gun law is so fucking stupid. American gun law is so fucking stupid. And once again, like, legally, sure, okay, the judge made the right decision. This is so fucking dumb, though. He banned calling the victims victims. Zazumbaji, that's actually normal. That one really shocked me when I read the article, but then I looked up about it. It's actually normal in self-defense cases. If there's precedent for judges not allowing the victims to be called victims in self-defense cases. It had nothing to do with the politicization of the trial. That is actually status quo for self-defense trials in the US. And I understand if you consider that biased, but you know, like, it's a different thing when it's something they do in every single trial. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't, in general, I don't believe in the good guy with a gun story that is used by a lot of guns rights activists. I just don't believe in it, Kino. The reason I don't believe in it is because pulling out and using a gun appropriately in stressful situations is extremely hard. And this is not a controversial statement. It is really, really hard to use the lethal weapon appropriately in those kinds of situations. Why did the judge in Kyle Rittenhouse's trial drop the gun possession charge? It was among the least serious charges against Kyle Rittenhouse, but one that looked like the prosecutor's best bet for a conviction. Rittenhouse was facing a misdemeanor charge of possessing a firearm as a minor until Monday, when it was dismissed. He was 17 when he admittedly shot 3 people, killing 2 with a semi-automatic rifle on the streets of Kenosha. A jury is now in deliberation. Under Wisconsin law, anyone under 18 who possesses a dangerous weapon is guilty of a misdemeanor, unless they fall under an exception, such as for hunting, military service, or target practice. For months, Rittenhouse's attorneys have pointed to one of those exceptions, one that is confusingly worded, that they argued allows 16 and 17-year-olds to carry rifles and shotguns as long as they are not unlawfully short-barreled. Conversely, Rittenhouse's AR-15 style rifle was not short-barreled. Conversely, prosecutors contended that if the exception was interpreted that way, it would swallow the whole statute and wouldn't make any sense, which is a fair point. Under that interpretation, prosecutors said the law would criminalize possession of nunchucks by a 17-year-old, but allow them to carry loaded assault-style rifles. Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, Judge Bruce Schroeder dismissed the possession charge on Monday, a victory for the defense who had for months been asking him to do so. Up until that point, Schroeder had declined to toss the charge, though he said it should have been clear he had big problems with the statute. The legislative elections and petitioning your lawmakers are the most important things you can do as a US citizen if you disagree with what happened in the trial, because on the face of the law, from what I can tell, the acquittal is fully is correct. The way like a mathematical equation is correct. Like the law says this, the acquittal says that, they match. What are you talking about? Cal practiced the Second Amendment right. Well, I don't believe the Second Amendment should be unlimited. I am against open carrying. So even though, so I agree that in a state where open carrying is legal, which is the case in Wisconsin, Kyle was within his rights, and the verdict is correct. But I disagree with the verdict, not because I disagree with the decision making by the jury and the judge, but because I disagree with the law itself, Lil PD. I disagree with the law itself. I believe that how come there's less crime in open carry areas? I don't know. First off, I don't know if that's even true. I would need to fact check that, and then we would need to look at what other factors could explain that as well. Because our open carry areas, for example, more affluent areas, richer areas. In that case, that would you would have to do a multivariate analysis based on that population density as well. You need to make a multivariate analysis of the crime rate versus affluence of the like median or like income, stuff like that, population density, education levels. Like there are multiple factors that are involved that are predictors of crime that are generally considered as very determinant in crime statistics. That is a complex question, Lil PD, and we can't answer it here because criminals are fucking frightened that their victim is carrying. No, that's not, you can't just say that, Lil PD. Even if what you said is true, that there's less crime in open carry areas, I just explained why it's a more complex equation than what you're thinking. And if you disagree, you can disagree, but like that's just the reality. Your poverty, your education level, those are things that are much stronger predictors of crime than whether other people are carrying guns. Also at the Bataclan, there are 3 terrorists with automatic AKMs, which are basically just smaller AK-47s who are wearing explosive vests. A good guy with a gun isn't going to stop what happened there. No, exactly, yeah. Exactly. We didn't, like, without even going into the details, of course. You're talking about people who trained with weapons of war. We're talking about fully automatic AKs for like soldier tier weapons rolling up into a club. And yeah, of course. I don't know what would have been expected out of a good guy with a gun there, really. Yeah, why does the USA have more crime than most non-carrying European countries then? Look, crime is a complex issue in general, and people. I'll do a little bit of both sides just to bridge the gap here, Lil PD and Zazumbaji. People on both sides tend to oversimplify crime when it serves a narrative, and that's what you're doing here right now, Lil PD. If you're not acknowledging that human behavior is complex, if you just want to attribute it to the one thing that suits your narrative, then I'm sorry, but you're being intellectually dishonest. It's the same nonsensical argument as the death penalty having a deterrence effect. Well, it is an argument about deterrence, yeah. I understand the analogy. Wait, that guy's right about gun laws and crime rates. Maybe we should look at the stats for if we just banned guns altogether. What would the crime rate look like? Okay, let's see. Crime rate in open carry states. Let's go down that rabbit hole while we're at it. Okay, this is from USA Today. Now, this is just one state, in mind. This is just West Virginia. The claim, well, crime rates dropped nearly 90% since West Virginia legalized open carry for firearms. An image shared on Facebook last year claims a change in gun laws that has led to a drop in the West Virginia crime rate. Now that there's an open carry law in the state of West Virginia, it's kind of like the old Wild Wild West, claims text in May 22nd, 2020 image. Since they've gone to open carry, the crime rate in West Virginia has gone down almost 90%. Everyone knows the Wild Wild West was an era of, you know, no crime at all. No crime in the Wild Wild West, known for its lack of gun crimes, exactly. That's exactly what it is known for. The post has recently seen significant traffic on the platform. But nothing like this happened. West Virginia has seen no such drop in the crime rate, and open carry has actually been legal in the state for several decades. Okay, then this is just really stupid. There are no laws in West Virginia requiring licenses for or prohibiting open carry, which allows owners to visibly carry a gun. They've allowed open carry for more than 25 years, and that the only gun regulation that has recently changed involves concealed carry. They passed a law that allows people over the age of 21 to carry a concealed firearm without a permit in 2016. There are exceptions for those who have served more than a year in prison or been declared mentally incompetent. Even if we assume the post meant to reference the concealed carry change rather than open carry, it's wrong. The available data from the FBI and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has shown no major changes in the crime rate in recent years. Both data sets show violent crime, murder, and homicide rates in West Virginia were nearly the same in 2014, 2 years before permitless carry was enacted. What do you mean it was wild how peaceful it was? Not just wild, it was wild. Yeah, exactly. Why can't they stream the court trial, but you can't even take photos? Is there a case where they allow recording? I don't fucking understand that at all. Honestly, I'm fucking flabbergasted at what the fuck is going on with the US law on recording, filming, and taking photos in courts. My understanding was that you cannot film, you cannot record electronically, you cannot take any photos. That's why you always have the drawings of the people in the courts, etc. It again depends on the judge. Well, okay, I guess it depends on the judge then. What the fuck? I actually like judges and law enforcement officers having a certain amount of leeway in how they apply law. That is something I'll actually defend. I think it's good to have people be able to make a decision, have human decision making involved in the justice system. But the justice system needs to be as standardized as possible. There needs to be this friction between standardization and making sure that it's neutral and universal, and human perception, allowing for granularity and interpretation of situations. It feels like especially in the cases we're discussing here, it feels like the U.S. Justice system has, on the police side, very almost no granularity. Like police apply the law to the letter of the law, not the intention of the law. And then when it comes to the court, it's like the judge can do whatever the fuck they want. As well as the people involved, they are minors, etc. Supreme Court is always no recordings, right? That's why they make those paintings. Yes, audio recording is allowed though. They do sound recordings, but no camera memes. That seems archaic, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think it matters for the Supreme Court. I don't think it matters either way. It's just weird that it's inconsistent. Flash photography will make the justices decay faster. True. We need to keep flash photography banned from the Supreme Court, or we're gonna lose the Supreme Court justices really fast. The sound recording is fine. Live streaming a court case, that'll make people mad whatever way it goes. Yeah, the live streaming, honestly, the fact that the Kyle Rittenhouse court case was live streamed is wild to me. The fact that it's politicized this way, but maybe it's positive. What am I sipping on? Some green tea. It's just green tea. Basic green tea, no sugar, no honey, nothing added. It's kind of wild to me, but at the same time, maybe it has a positive effect. Maybe allowing people to see what happens in the trial means they better understand the acquittal. Because imagine, it's happened several times, right? There's court cases where no one knows what happens, and then no one knows what's happening. No one understands the arguments and counter arguments. No one's actually followed the trial play by play. And then the acquittal comes, and everyone's like, what the fuck? And there's riots and protests and everything. But then if you actually like read the articles and like read into it, you understand that as controversial as it was, it made sense. And like this is the Rittenhouse trial for me. It's controversial. Like I disagree with the laws that created that situation in the first place. But once those laws are in place, I agree with the judge's decision. Not with the gun, like that was an interpretation thing. The fact the short barrel gun thing, that's an interpretation thing. I think the judge is really dumb about it, but he's allowed to make that interpretation. It's fucked up, but once again, it's the law that has to be changed, right? I didn't know Neyman was anti-stream, but I don't know anyone. I was anti-stream, but maybe it was good. I was anti-stream originally, but just like talking about it, I realized maybe it's better that it went this way. Maybe every like big politicized trial should actually be a media circus like this, just so people can like actually pay attention to what's going on in the trial and understand why certain things are dismissed by the judge, etc., etc. And maybe then they will care about the legislative elections. They'll think like, oh shit, I disagree with what happened in the trial, so I'm gonna go see my lawmakers. Like that would be a huge positive improvement to the political scene in the US. You are anti-live stream, yet you live stream yourself. Curious. Yeah, I know, right? Good thing we're not live streaming trial. The only thing that's really weird about the case is how a minor is allowed to carry a rifle. Yeah. The article we were reading here is wild. Like you're not allowed to carry a knife or a sword as a minor in Wisconsin, or a short-barreled shotgun, but you are allowed to carry a rifle. That's what this judge created in Wisconsin, just so he could free so he could like free Kyle Rittenhouse of the gun misdemeanor. No, it's not just you can't drink, smoke tobacco, drive, or marry. It's you can't drink, smoke tobacco, drive, or marry, carry a nunchuck, carry a carry like a sword, a short-barreled shotgun. But you can carry a rifle. I mean, the law says it, from what I understand. Yeah, the law does talk about short-barreled things, from what I understand, doesn't it? Also, honestly, something I 100% believe in is that the US has an attitude problem with guns, as well as a regulation problem with guns. Meaning that the US has an image of gun use being the good guy with a gun, the lone gunman saving in the Wild West, saving everyone. Like fucking Clint Eastwood rolling up in every town and shooting all the bad guys. Compare that to a country like Switzerland, where everyone who's done military service keeps their rifle with them, and they have like the closest level of gun ownership to the US. They don't have a culture of using your gun. They have a culture of owning your gun, but not of using it. And that's the entire difference, in my opinion, between Switzerland and the US. And of course, a bit more regulation. Like they can take away your guns in different situations. But the attitude around the guns is so important, I think. That remember my stats, a majority of American gun owners support sensible... Yes, they do. A majority of American gun owners support sensible gun control, but a lot of them don't realize that the NRA fights sensible gun control. And they still subscribe to it because they buy into the propaganda that the NRA is protecting their gun rights. Bro, anime girl darling, it's not real, it's all my imagination. Not true. Anime is real. Wish the kid hadn't been in that situation, but the law was executed properly. Yeah, 100% agree, Captain Insano. Then we're 100% in agreement, yeah. The law was executed properly. I disagree with the law, but that's between me and the lawmakers, not between me and the judge, right? It's up to me to petition like the lawmakers to vote in the legislative elections, etc. Open carrying in and of itself is a provocation and nullifies the idea of self-defense. Morally, I agree. Legally, that's not the case in the US, right? Which law I just got here? We're talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. So we're discussing how the laws played out in that verdict. There's several laws we discussed. There was the Wisconsin the Wisconsin like minors allowed to carry like long-barreled rifles law. There's the open carry law. Which law do you think should be different? Open carrying. I think open carrying should be illegal in any civil society. Do you realize how much money Rittenhouse is about to be rolling in? So many defamation lawsuits likely coming, including against Biden the jackass. I don't think so. Defamation lawsuits are extremely complex and hard, but I do think he's going to be rolling in cash. You know why? Because Rittenhouse now crystallizes attention of the American conservatives. I think Rittenhouse has a huge choice to make in his life right now, and Rittenhouse's choice is to go into politics or not. He already received an offer from I forgot the name. There's like a congressperson who already offered to hire Rittenhouse as a congressional aide. If Rittenhouse goes down that path, he has an amazing start-off boost to become a successful politician and have a huge career in politics as a conservative. Yeah, he's gonna get book deals, TV appearances, work for Toilet Paper USA or Breitbart. But better than that, he's gonna be I think he can become a politician. I think he 100% can become a politician if he goes like under the wing of a successful conservative politician who will train him and groom him to become like a future senator or congressperson. If he takes up the offer to become like a congressional aide, he is going to be like the next generation's one of the next generation's big conservative politicians, as long as he doesn't fuck it up. Like, the ball's in his court. As long as he doesn't fuck it up, he'll be successful at that. But maybe he doesn't want to do that. Maybe he wants to get out of media attention, and that will be perfectly fine, of course. Maybe later, but not right now. That's the sort of thing you do in your 30s. No, like congressional aid, he can do that now. He can start his political career now. And yeah, sure, of course, he's not going to be like a senator or a congressperson until his 30s. But he can start his political career now and be on the fast track to become an influential politician in his late 20s, 30s. Yeah, sure. That's okay. Sorry, by congressional aid I meant I included congressional aid as a politician, but you're sure. The French just have body odor instead of guns, right? Aha, good one. No, but seriously, the French have actually really sane gun laws, unless you really want people to carry. If you don't need people to be open carrying or concealed carrying, the French have very sane gun laws. You can apply for a gun license and own guns as long as you don't have a felony record and as long as you don't have a record of mental illness. You submit a dossier to the administration, and then you get a gun license. You have to go through some training as well. Go to a range. Can you use them in self-defense though? I don't think you can do that here. No, you can only use guns in the self-defense law in France is about proportional self-defense, and that's very important. So if someone robs you unarmed, and you shoot them, you're gonna be you're liable for first-degree murder. If you shoot them in the back while they're running away after having robbed you, you're liable for murder. You can only use your gun in self-defense if they yeah, the bar is really high here in France. If someone actually is robbing your house, you can only use your gun if they're actually assaulting you, or if they're basically, even in the US that would be murder. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Sounds familiar to Canada. Yeah. So like the guy breaks into your house, he doesn't assault you. You need to you need to like stop him without shooting him, or just let him rob you. I don't know. I sure hope he disappears versus politics. I don't support or applaud him necessarily. I'm just so pleased that the law here was executed in spite of mainstream media damning him and labeling this as a racist attack, etc. So happy that the courts in Wisconsin and the jury was cerebral. I actually appreciate your attitude, Insano. That's a very, very mature attitude, in my opinion, relative to a very controversial case. Can you threaten them with a gun? I don't know. I'm not sure, Jirio. And the French government fears the people despite the strict gun control, right? Just ask Louis XVI. True. Though, to be fair, the French government has been, for the past 10 to 15 years, militarizing the riot police. And in fact, the French government is on the watch list for by Amnesty International and other human rights groups for impeding on the right to protest. Actually, that's not something you guys hear outside of France, but France is like on the shit list year after year, and it's getting worse for blocking the right to protest. For good reason. French protesters are fucking crazy. It goes both ways. Like the thing is, I 100% believe, you can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want to, that's fair, but I 100% believe that the police infiltrate the provocateur agents into protests to incite violence and to give a bad image to protests. There are multiple like eyewitness reports and like videos, weird shit, of weird shit happening, protesters like burning some shit and then disappearing behind police lines without being arrested, stuff like that, that make it very, very likely that the police has a clear like psyops division to make protests look bad. So I don't know how true that claim is that the protesters are fucking crazy. That being said, there are black blocs in France who stir shit up. Yeah, agent provocateur is a literal ancient tactic. Anyone can look it up to confirm. Absolutely. And it's fair if you want to call that conspiracy, because like I don't have the proof on hand, or like the videos I've seen or whatever. We could do like a deep dive, but yeah. Why did you say the judge was biased though? Because the judge made choices that are perfectly allowed, but kind of stacked against the prosecutors. Nah, I don't know. Like in the end, I agree with Insano. Like the judge carried out justice. The way the law was written, as far as I understand, the judge carried out justice. I shouldn't call him biased. I was calling him biased simply because my impression was that the choices he made, that he was free to do, for example, not allowing the victims to be called victims, had to do with like he didn't have to make those choices. Those aren't classic modus operandi for self-defense cases, but there are modus operandi for certain judges. Is Kyle a 4chan dude, or did 4chan make him look like one? He fucking killed 2 people as a 17-year-old. It has to be traumatizing. If he wanted to kill people, he would have sprayed. I actually 100% agree as well. This is something that a lot of people who hate Kyle in this situation don't necessarily acknowledge. Kyle showed trigger discipline. He didn't spray. He shot like 1-2 shots at the people who were attacking him. He demonstrated self-restraint. I still think he shouldn't have been there with a gun. But yeah, like it was you can do that while simultaneously look for an opportunity to LARP as a cowboy, you know? Yeah, and he was LARPing as a cowboy. Like I understand what you mean by that. This gun didn't have the option to spray. Yeah, but there's a difference between shooting like 1 shot center of mass and then seeing a guy like fall to the ground, and like multiple, and being like pa 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 pa, which he could have done. It was a semi-automatic weapon. Yeah, he had the typical militia LARPer outfit, sure. Everyone can have their opinion on what happened, but the law was executed properly in this trial. Yep, that trial is even more left than right, allegedly, runs on Democrat ticket. These are simply insane charges by the DA to try to stop a complete loser idiot waste of life from rioting. Oh, okay. No, I wasn't sure what you were saying. Oh, yeah. So you believe the DA took on those charges to make sure that there was a verdict against those charges, right? The DA knew that the charges weren't going to stick, but they had to charge Kyle Rittenhouse with them, so it would go through court, so that then people who are unhappy with the situation could look at the court proceedings and be like, okay, actually, we were wrong to think it wasn't self-defense.